Good morning, YouTuber. It's Monday morning, and I've just been asked a question which I thought was a pretty good question, actually. And it was related to somebody that said, should he become a registered electrician and a registered gas engineer? He had some spare time, but he costed that out at between 10 and 15,000. Now, I looked into it a long time ago, and I decided, in my view, I didn't want to go into it. There was an awful lot of work involved. You've basically got to be a plumber and serve an apprenticeship under someone, and I didn't want to do that. Sort of like 30 years in the industry, and then all of a sudden I have to then start soldering a joint to show somebody I can solder a joint. I can't be bothered with that. So I just didn't do it. But if you got 1 or 2 houses, or even 4 or 5, 10 houses even, is it cost effective to undergo all of the exams, the costs, and the equipment? Because some of the equipment's pretty tasty too, mine. And they're two completely different trades. So you got I wouldn't say if you're an accidental landlord, but say you've got 1 or 2 houses, well, just subcontract it out. I mean, in my view, just subcontract it out. I think there's something else you need to give consideration to, and that is liability as well. You have a liability issue. So if as the years come, we'll take the electrics first. So the electrics got to be done every 5 years. There was some confusion about how often it needed to be done, and at least that's been sorted now, and it's 5 years. If we got a change of tenancy, sometimes somebody might move in and move out in a year. Well, we'll pretty much get the electrical certificate done again, because we just would. And you say, well, surely they won't find anything wrong. Oh, they do. They'll find this and they'll find that. So it's a continual process. Now, if you use somebody else's services and you start to build up this certificate after certificate after certificate, if something goes wrong, or if the local authority or whatever authority wants to see those certificates, it's beautiful when you return those certificates to the local authority by return. I've only had to do it once or twice in like forever, but when someone says, oh, send us this and this, and by return you send it, you think, oh, that's beautiful, that's worth something. That's lovely. Gas engineers now, with a balanced flue, it's pretty unlikely that anything's going to go wrong seriously, because it's balanced flues. Back in the day when people were dying of carbon monoxide, it was the non-balanced flues. That doesn't mean to say that it can go wrong, but what I'm saying is, if you've got certificate after certificate, and say you've had the same house for say 10 years, and you got all of your old certificates from all your what used to be Corgi registered and is now gas safe, and you got all these certificates, and someone says something's gone wrong, well, you've got it all, and when it's all in date, it's beautiful. It's beautiful when that happens. So from a liability perspective, it's nice to be using somebody else and to build up a history. There is, of course, the costs, and it is pretty expensive, and you have to go through exams. Now, I'm not the cleverest of guys. Look, I shaved my head this morning and I got no Velcro to hold me hat on, because it's normal. I should have shaved last night. That's how stupid I am. What I'm trying to say is, you got to go through all the exam processes, and it's a continual exam as well. So you got to do it sort of like every 5 years or so. Yes, every 5 years for a gas one. I don't know what it is for an electrician, but you got to do these refresher courses. So it's not just a one-off. Now, if you got 50 houses that you're in charge of, then whoop-de-doo, maybe that's for you. I don't know. That'd be quite something to do both plumbing and the electrician. So in my view, for what I needed to do, I've always subcontracted that out. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you can't do any plumbing. If we put a central heating system and we put a few systems in, we'll tend to go and buy all the radiators, we'll hang all the radiators, and then then we'll start lifting all the floorboards, because there's a lot of plumbers and gas engineers, they don't want to do. A gas engineer wants to be working on gas engineering. They don't want to be lifting boards. So what we tended to do is lift the boards ourselves, run a lot of pipe, and in all honesty, connect a lot of the piping up ourselves. Connect all the radiators up, connect all the thermostatic valves, because none of that is controlled under gas regulations. None of it. So you can do that yourself without. So let's be clear on this. A gas boiler, you can touch everything outside the boiler and you can touch all the controls, but you can't take the cover off the boiler. That's a different job. So if you want to pressure up the boiler because it's gone down on pressure, you can do that. And obviously you can't touch the gas pipe either. Sorry, I forgot that. But all the plumbing and the water and the thermostatic valves and the radiators, you can do that. And that ain't rocket science either. Now, we found that gas engineers don't really want to do that. They don't want to do that. They just want to play around. So what we've done in the past is put the complete system in and just left the boiler out. And then they've come along and they've put the boiler up and they've made all their connections and they charge what they want. And it's good to charge that too. It seems to work. So in my view, for what I want, I've outsourced and subcontracted gas engineering, gas certificates, electrical certificates. And I tend to listen to them as well, because they can give advice on the situation, and that works as well. Listen to their advice. That's another thing. Whereas you can't get advice you can't get advice. Hello, my mate's cutting steel. Let's go and see what he's doing, shall we?